this is our presentation section, and Superintendent Mrs. Ronan will be talking to us about back to school this year.
Thank you, Madam President. I have some highlights from the opening of school that I would like to share with everyone. School started on Monday, August 18th for students, but our staff members were there. They were present the week before for professional development and getting their classrooms ready for the arrival of students. All of our schools hosted a family information night to meet their teachers and have parents see the classrooms. And that was the Thursday and Friday before school started. On the first day of school, our students were greeted by the Reds mascots. Mr. Redlegs, Rosie Reds, and the Gapper were all here. Mr. Richardson, our AD, has friends in the Reds organization, so the mascots graciously spend the first morning of the new school year greeting our students as they return. Our administrative team also made sure that everything was ready to go on day one. Another plus for the start of the school year was the reopening of the newly renovated Shea Stadium. The stadium has new turf, a new track, new lighting, a new scoreboard, new paint, air conditioning in the locker rooms. It's been over 20 years since the last renovation. And we do have a billboard featuring the ribbon cutting that features all of our Board of Education on the billboard above the mound. And last Friday, we celebrated Wyatt Hinton's receiving the state championship ring out on our new turf field. Sharpsburg students, they returned to a beautiful new playgrounds at both the primary and elementary buildings. Plus, in addition, an outdoor classroom as part of our landscape and playground beautification project. The Sharpsburg Alumni Association donated playground equipment to complement the new playgrounds. Well, we also fixed up our Gaga pits because it's a favorite of students. We put some turf in them at Norwood View, Williams, and at Sharpsburg. You know, our homecoming football game is scheduled for tomorrow night against St. Bernard, and we're fortunate that we have a partnership with Bless with a Dress, and they provide outfits to defray the cost of the homecoming dance event. And that's, I believe, in the lobby of the high school where students could choose items they needed. We're also fortunate to participate in Hubbard's Cupboard again this year. They bring school supplies for students in cooperation with Crayons to Computers, and I think that's Sam there in the van. We are in, week 5 of the first quarter, and academic instruction is moving forward at a brisk pace. These are pictures from grade 1 at Sharpsburg. The students are reading their favorite books to the stuffed animals who they use as their reading buddies. And that picture was taken in our new outdoor classroom. So the academic year is off to a smooth start. We also received our state report card. From last year, we received 3.5 stars overall, which means Norwood met state standards. Now, Mrs. Chesson is going to go over the details at the October committee meeting since many of our schools exceeded state standards. So we all look forward to that in October. So thank you, and that concludes our opening report. So thanks, everyone.
All right. Thank you, Mrs. Ronan. All right, item 3 on the agenda, this is personnel, so I'm going to be turning it right back over to Mrs. Ronan.
Well, thank you very much. All right. I am back on with 3.01 employment. Under that, we have an employment of an exempt employee, and that is we're hiring John as our attendance and student accounts coordinator because he is replacing Mitch, who resigned in August. So I'm going to stop there because I think we need a vote on it.
Do I have a motion to approve 3.01?
All motion?
I'll second.
Any discussion? I will be abstaining from this vote. Mrs. Camphouse?
Mr. Atwood?
Yes.
Miss Ballard?
Yes.
Mrs. Rarica?
Yes.
Mr. Taylor?
Yes.
Mrs. Cole?
Abstain. Okay, Mrs. Ronan?
All right, item number 2, employment. We would like to welcome some new student assistant and ed aides who are going to be working with our students this year. Also, right under that box, we have avenues for success, and these are the teachers who are working in our great after-school program. We also, under that, have some supplementals, and these are for teachers serving as mentors for new staff members and also who host our student clubs. And that is continued on the next page. Then, under item number 2, that's where we hired our non-certified coaches and advisors. As you can see, we've got pupil activity contracts for fall and winter sports listed there. And also as a site sub for our Avenues for Success program. So I'm going to stop for a board vote right here.
All right. Do I have a motion to approve section 3, I guess it's 3.01, sub-items 2 and 3. Did you group 4 in there as well?
Yes,
Nope.
it is 2 and 3.
2 and 3.
2 and 3.
I'll motion.
I'll second. Any discussion? Mrs. Camp House?
Mr. Atwood?
Yes.
Ms. Ballard?
Yes.
Mrs. Rarica?
Yes.
Mr. Taylor?
Yes.
Mrs. Cole?
Yes.
Now, as we continue in the employment section, under Avenues for Success, these are the non-certified staff working in our after-school program. Then item number 3, this is for staff who change position, so that's why you see it listed as a change in status. Item number 4, that is the new Science of Reading program from the state of Ohio that the governor has championed, and this gives the treasurer permission to distribute the stipends that we get from the state to the teachers who take the training. So I'm going to stop right here for another board vote.
All right. Do I have a motion to approve Avenues for Success, the change in status, and the Science of Reading stipend?
Motion.
I'll second. Any discussion? I will be abstaining from this vote. Mrs. Camp House?
Mr. Atwood?
Yes.
Ms. Ballard?
Yes.
Mrs. Rarica?
Yes.
Mr. Taylor?
Yes.
Mrs. Cole?
Abstain.
All right, the next section, 3.02, are resignations, and we do have several, actually 3 individuals leaving us for other employment. So there is another voting box right after the resignations.
Do I have a motion to accept the resignations?
Motion.
I'll second. Any discussion? Mrs. Camp House?
Mr. Atwood?
Yes.
Ms. Ballard?
Yes.
Mrs. Rarica?
Yes.
Mr. Taylor?
Yes.
Mrs. Cole?
Yes.
All right, then in 3.03, what this is, it's an amendment to the supplemental schedule of the Norwood Teachers Association contract to pay a stipend for the Hope Squad at the middle school. We have one at the high school, but we did not have a paid position at the middle school. So if you're in agreement with it, NTA is in agreement with it, it'll be an addendum to the supplemental salary schedule of the contract.
Do I have a motion to approve 3.03?
I'll motion.
I'll second. Any discussion?
Yes, I do have a question. I thought Hope Squad was changing their structuring, and then we were possibly going to look at additional supports.
That's what this is. Yes, you are correct. They are not in existence anymore. So we'd like to continue with the Hope Squad, and they used to pay for the middle school advisor, but since they've dissolved,
Right.
so this is to allow us to continue at the middle school. We may change the name of it because they may not actually let us use their name anymore.
Have we done any further follow-up with the organization that I sent you information with previously?
I have not. I apologize for that, but we will, because that, if that works out, this person would be the coordinator with that organization. But
Right.
right now, we don't have anything.
Okay, yeah, I'd like to get on that as soon as possible, because I knew that transitioned, but a lot of those folks are being utilized to come in and supplement for this type of
For
program.
this type of program.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And I was gonna say, I was glad, I thought that, like, I even heard a story on NPR or something, that they had disbanded, and then I saw the teacher who was in charge of it, and she's like, yes, but apparently it's still at the regional level, it was still going, it was just the national, and I was like, oh, I was so confused. She's like, nope, we're still going, so I was like, all right.
So that's interesting. I did not know that. So the national dissolved, but the
I
regional
might have
hasn't.
said that wrong, so
It could be that.
don't quote me.
Well, it's okay. I just know I don't believe we're
Changes
getting a
have happened.
stipend anymore, so
Right,
we're having to pick it up.
Yep.
Well, I'm glad we're going to continue it. I just want to
Yes.
make sure we're following up on the correct thing so that we don't get in any hot water or drop that program, because it's a very
No,
good program to
exactly.
keep.
Yeah,
But I
my-
want to see us do a little bit more with it.
My kids stayed after school yesterday for a 2-hour class on how to teach other kids about anti-vaping, so they are doing it, so.
Okay.
Anything further?
No, that concludes my personnel report. Thank you.
All right. Mrs. Campbell?
Mr. Atwood,
Yes.
Ms. Ballard,
Yes.
Mrs. Rarica,
Yes,
Mr. Taylor,
Yes.
Mrs. Cole.
Yes. All right, with that approved, we can move on to item 4 on the agenda. This is our Education Committee report, and I will turn this over to Mrs. Rarica.
thank you, Madam President. We have a memorandum of understanding for Head Start and also another one for Talbot House. These are the things we put out that just say we intend on working with these organizations. And then we also have our field trips, which I just love. The high school going to Children's Hospital, Sharpsburg going to Camp Camelgard, middle school, Washington DC, whoop, whoop, and the high school marching band going to Indianapolis, Williams Avenue Elementary, Green Acres, Children's Theater, Taft Theater, Norwood View, also going to Green Acres, and Camp Kern. So I make a motion that we accept our MOUs and our field trips.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Mrs. Camphouse?
Mr. Atwood,
Yes.
Ms. Ballard,
Yes.
Mrs. Rarica,
Yes.
Mr. Taylor,
Yes.
Mrs. Cole.
Yes. All right, item 5 on the agenda, this is our policy committee, and we have no policies this month. So we can move on to item 6, which is building and grounds, and I will turn it over to Ms. Ballard.
Thank you, Madam President. We have a couple requests for facility usage. The first is for Christmastown to use the Norwood Middle School parking lot and field house on Friday, December 6th for their setup, and use for the event on Saturday, December 7th. The second request is from the new City Presbyterian Church men's football event. They'd like to use the Shea Stadium field on Saturday, November 16th or November 23rd, and that will be dependent on our AD. I'd like to make a motion that we approve both requests as presented.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Mrs. Camphouse?
Mr. Atwood,
Yes.
Mrs. Ballard,
Yes.
Mrs. Rarica,
Yes.
Mr. Taylor,
Yes.
Mrs. Cole.
Yes. All right, with that approved, we can move on to item 7. This is our Finance Committee report, so I will turn it over to our treasurer, Mrs. Camphouse.
Thank you, Madam President. Monthly financials, the CFO report and change order listings are on the agenda for your review. 7.02 is an appropriation resolution, our budget for the current year. 7.03 to set sub rates. For our contracted teaching subs, we're setting pay for their daily rates. 7.04, board approval to open a checking account. In order to facilitate our new FSA vendors funds, we will need a new checking account. 7.05, resolution declaring transportation impractical. We have 2 parents request transportation to private schools, which is outside of our district. It is impractical for us to provide transportation. 7.06, approve gas and electric suppliers. To approve gas and electric purchasing agreements to coincide with our current agreements. 7.07, Every Child Succeeds agreement. Our annual agreement paid for with Ready School funding. 7.08, contract with Kimberly Cottrell to approve a contract to provide limited technical services for marketing and other printed and virtual needs. 7.09, fiscal year grants to approve our 21st Century Grant of $700,000 for the current school year. 7.10, then and now purchase orders. Just a few purchase orders needing further approval due to the fiscal cutoff. 7.11, capital improvement budget. Attached is our capital improvement budget that I get approved every fall. 7.12, Shea Stadium substantial completion. This is the substantial completion for Shea's remodel, including Motz's substantial completion for the track, the scoreboard, and gray box project on the stadium itself. 7.13, Sharpsburg substantial completion, to approve the substantial completion of Sharpsburg's beautification project. And finally, 7.14, Williams Avenue Elementary beautification plan, to approve the plan presented at the community meeting last week and the associated budget to go along with it.
All right, do I have a motion to approve the Finance Committee 7.01 through 7.14?
All motion?
I'll second.
Any discussion?
I'm really happy about the sub pay raise, and also, I just love these beautification projects. I don't know if anybody wants an explanation, but when we passed the levy, it made a bucket of continuous improvement money. That money's been growing, and so we took that money and did these beautification projects. It's not money that came out of nowhere. It's very purposeful. It's very wonderful that the levy has these parts to it, and I love explaining it. Because Julie's so good at telling me about it.
And we love getting them done. They look
Yeah.
fantastic. I think
And I had
Sharpsburg looks
somebody say,
fantastic.
like,
Sharpsburg looks
thank you for
amazing.
telling us.
I love that they have tetherball. I'm hoping Williams also gets a tetherball.
We already told them we had
Big
to have
fan.
tetherball.
Big
We
fan.
have to have tetherball, have to have kickball. Don't take our Gaga pits. We know where our priorities are.
We
Yes.
got them.
Little more green space where we can fit it in.
That's
Get
right.
less heat going there and more trees bringing up that geothermal coolness.
And I like that we'll have a spot for our parents to be able to hang out during drop-off and pickup times. That's a safe space, and that they'll have actual physical drop-off zones that they can pull into.
All of our back
Oh, yeah,
doors will
those
be
are
gated,
exciting.
fenced. I
Yes.
think that's very important.
It'll be so nice.
Yep.
Anything further? All right, Mrs. Campbell?
Mr. Atwood?
Yes.
Ms. Ballard?
Yes.
Mrs. Rarica?
Yes.
Mr. Taylor?
Yes.
Mrs. Cole?
Yes. All right, item 8 on the agenda is the hearing of the public. I do not have any papers with me today, so I will move on to item 9. This is the report section, 9.01, board announcements. So I will open it up if any board member has anything they would like to share.
I'll say I accidentally happened upon the Blessed with the Dress thing and ended up staying all day, and it was really, really fun. And the kids had so much fun. And they were really well behaved, and the lady in charge said that apparently last year they were not.
Uh-oh.
And so she was super, super, super happy and very, what's the word when you say nice things about other people?
Complimentary.
Good job. It's very complimentary about how our kids were this year. She was
Great.
just blown away at how nice our kids are.
Fantastic.
And I had a really good time.
Anything else? All right, we'll move on. 9.02, this is our superintendent report, so I will turn it over to Mrs. Ronan.
Well, what I have this evening is the latest enrollment totals. We did see an influx of students coming in after Labor Day. So our enrollment does seem to have stabilized. At pre-K to 12, we have 1,764 students, which really tracks with what we had last year at this time. But I wanted you to have this detailed report of where everyone is. And I didn't know if there was any questions, but like I said, it does look like enrollment is stabilizing.
Does that usually happen that we get?
It does. Unfortunately, I think people still think back in the day that school starts after Labor
Labor
Day,
Day?
but it really hasn't It started before Labor Day for the past 20 or 30
Yeah, I was
years.
gonna say, it's been a while.
But we still,
Okay.
yes, we still get an influx, especially in kindergarten and the younger grades.
Oh, interesting,
It's-
yeah, because they probably don't, yeah.
They don't
They just
realize
don't
that.
know,
Well,
yeah.
like,
It'd be nice if it was holiday to holiday. It just kind of makes sense, but
Yeah, you're right. We get out on Memorial Day, so they think we don't start till after Labor Day. So you're right. But all districts now start a lot earlier in August.
Right,
And that's a nationwide problem. I
Yes.
know,
it's to compensate
Gosh,
for
and
the
the-
change in scheduling for teachers throughout the year to give more breaks and things like that. So
And
I
like
get
it-
it, but it's weird.
1999 and 2000, I was teaching in Cleveland. And this same exact thing was talked about. The kids won't show up till after Labor Day, so.
I know they missed the first
Wow.
2 weeks of school, which, you hate to see that.
right. Mm-hmm.
But that's all I have. But
Okay. All right. Thank you, Mrs. Roman. 9.03, this is our Great Oaks report, so I will turn it over to Ms. Ballard.
Thank you, Madam President. We also went over enrollment numbers for the school year. We have a 25% increase overall since 2019, and we have 88 more students than last year's enrollment at a total of 3,324. We are currently at capacity in all classroom offerings, so we'll see how we hold on to that. But the fact that we are growing is really good indication of improvements for technical education. The other project update that we've got, we're also doing a lot of construction projects in our district. We just finished most of our renovations at 2 of our campuses, and next week, we're actually going to be doing a a ribbon cutting on Monday, the 23rd, at one of our campuses, and I think at Live Oaks campus, and the lieutenant governor is supposed to be there to help with that next week. We are going to be, trying to think here, oh, no, excuse me, it's at Laurel Oaks. We did Live in the spring, and that was the one that we finished, and Laurel Oaks is on Monday. We've also added a couple of new committees to the district that are going to help with evaluating our CTE programs and basically the curriculum director type role, but to really evaluate the work side more so than the curriculum side, so that we're meeting industry standards and credentialing. So that's going to go hand in hand with our curriculum growth, so that we're meeting industry standards and kind of beating them, because we're adding in several new programs, including EV, which is the start of what the new construction is going to be at our new campus. The other thing that we mentioned, we have our Southwest Regional meeting coming up on October 10th, and that will be up at our Laurel Oaks campus as well. And that concludes my report.
All right, thank you, Ms. Ballard. 9.04, this is Norwood Community Television, which is my committee. I do have an update from Tyler. He says they've been working with IT and our AD to get the gym and stadium ready to cover sports. Huddle has been covering sports by itself for the last year or so. He said, and now they can take the feed from Huddle, add our own cameras to it, along with the announcers and the audio from the stadium. And then the control room upstairs has a computer that supplies the feed for the monitors at the concession stand. And then they're going to be doing that soon here for the games at the high school gym. So that will be coming soon. He says these changes allow us to stream sports on Facebook as well as YouTube. And he said they are expanding their productions as we go. So that's the news for NCT for the month. 9.05, this is our OSBA legislative liaison, so I will turn it over to Ms. Ballard again.
Thank you, Madam President. The things that mostly have been coming from the state have been recommendations that we all participate in the Stay in the Game Attendance Awareness Month for September. It's a nationwide program recognizing connections between school attendance and academic achievement. So they're hoping that each school participates in setting those goals and providing activities and benchmarks for students to prioritize attendance. We'd also just finished our flag meeting in DC, which is the federal legislative. I'm the alternate for that. I didn't have to attend because both of our regulars were able to attend. But they just came back from that and said they were able to meet with a couple of our House representatives as well as a few senators while they were in DC to talk about career tech education as well as home districts and things that are going on at the national level. I have not received that report yet because they just got back last week. But as soon as I have that report, I will hopefully have some national news to tell you. That concludes my report.
All right, thank you, Ms. Ballard. 9.06, this is Avenues for Success, and I will ask Mrs. Rarica to give us an update.
Thank you, Madam President. Our super fun clubs that we have every year will be starting up October 14th, and right now, Laura Ferguson is organizing those and taking from staff members proposals for after-school clubs until September 20th. So I can't wait to see what they come up with, because it's always something really fun. And that's it.
All right, thank you, Mrs. Rarica. Item 10 on the agenda, this is our meeting notifications for next month. So our meetings next month will be Tuesday, October 8th at 6 p.m. will be the committee meeting in the Board of Education office on Williams. And then our regular meeting will be Thursday, October 17th at 6 p.m. here in the high school mini. Do I have a motion to approve the future meetings as listed?
A motion?
I'll second.
Any discussion? No, we all look forward to having our students and parents back with us for the
Yeah,
meeting.
we'll have Star Awards.
Rising Star Awards. Anything else?
Are we going to be continuing the sports awards? And
Oh,
I hope
right,
the
and fine
arts
arts
awards.
and
I'd like to.
sports.
Sports and fine arts?
I'd like to make the fine arts thing a regular, because we did that a couple times last year, but we had so
No,
many,
It's at every meeting.
yeah, I think we didn't do it the first few meetings, but I want to make sure we're going to continue it this year.
Anything else? All right, Mrs. Camphouse?
Mr. Atwood?
Yes.
Ms. Ballard?
Yes.
Mrs. Rarica?
Yes.
Mr. Taylor?
Yes.
Mrs. Cole?
Yes. All right, item 11 on the agenda, this is adjournment. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
All motion?
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
The time is 6:33 and we are adjourned. Thank you.